welcome to this edition of Inside the Squared Circle. I'm Mike Valentine. Yeah, it's still back there.
Okay.
It
I'm
looks
just
a
making
little higher than usual.
right, but I'm just making sure it's working because last week it was just doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff.
No, it's working.
Okay.
It's working now. Our techs actually decided to do their jobs
Right,
properly and
they-
get things working.
damn
Anyway, I'm
Fred.
Mike Valentine. This is the Chancellor of Lyles University,
Coming
Brian
along.
Lyles. And of course, we have more wrestling stuff to talk about, although more recently it seems to be complaining about.
Yeah.
Which isn't really how wrestling should be. I mean, wrestling should be fun. Wrestling should be enjoyable. And Vince doesn't really seem to
Does he know what planet he's on?
get this.
I mean, do you know?
I know what planet I'm on.
It's
Apparently
not.
WWE's planet, where they run everything and
Wow.
tell me
okay.
what they're going to do, and I just have to live here and
Yes,
accept it because they have no
Their
competition.
universe more like it.
Oh,
Okay.
I hate that term. I have always hated that term, the universe. It never makes any
Well, it's
sense.
bigger than a nation.
It is bigger than a nation. And well, I mean, how do they go from nation to universe? They don't even have a country or a planet. They just went straight from nation to universe. How do you do that?
I don't know. Talk to the people who
It's-
created the stupid nation part.
Okay, I already don't want to talk about the marketing right now. But we
Well-
can talk about none other than WrestleMania. Because again, I don't care what you say, this is WrestleMania season. It is a season because it happens every year at the same time. And they make a big deal about it with the whole Road to WrestleMania thing, which I do love that name. I don't know why I put it in quotes.
Because they stole it from somewhere else.
They steal everything from everything. But yes,
That's
so
right.
the Road to WrestleMania has now paved its way, and we have a clear vision of what the main event is actually going to be. And it seems like WWE has run some serious damage control, or they've actually known what they were doing the whole time? Question mark? Which I don't really think is the case. Either way, Randy Orton versus Dave Bautista, or Bautista, I guess.
Bautista.
Yeah. For the WWE Championship, with the possibility, and not even possibility now, but somebody will be added into the match to make it a triple threat. The winner of Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, which adds a lot of very interesting things to the mix. And Brian Lyles, it seems like you have a lot of interesting things to say about it.
This is stupid. I'm sorry. I mean, think about this. 27 years ago, WrestleMania was like this close for the WWE to go completely bankrupt, die out, if it wasn't for one match. 27 years ago, we saw one of the greatest matches of all time. And no, I'm not talking about Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. You know what I'm talking about, people. I don't have to repeat myself. We could have had that at this WrestleMania. We could have had another ultimate match at WrestleMania. I'm not getting it. What I'm getting is, like you said, in air quotes, damage control. Because they completely messed this whole entire scenario where Daniel Bryan gets a chance to get back now the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. He's not facing against the guy that everybody wanted him to face. No, it's not Randy, and it's definitely not Bautista. It's CM Punk. But, hey, we're trying to help and please the WWE Universe. So why not put Daniel Bryan possibly into the main event if he beats Triple H? Okay, yeah. All the WWE fans are going, okay, yeah, I'm good for that. I'm good for that. And then this past Monday, we get this. We get the two divas. No, not Nikki and Brie, but Bautista and Randy Orton complaining the fact that, oh, we got to deal with Daniel Bryan if he beats Triple H. All right, fine. That's all good. No, next year we get another diva complaining, saying, I'm tired of you complaining. And mind you, it was a good point that Triple H put this out there, having another Hollywood star coming out of nowhere and coming back and taking spots. Mind you, hey, you didn't make the first call. You made the second one. And then secondly is that get a guy here who pretty much has all the potential in the world and can't do nothing with that potential. Mind you, he didn't make that call. Someone else did for Randy Orton. So who makes this call? Well, guess what? I'm going to win this darn thing. And when I win, I'm coming after your title. And I'm like, oh, great. what I don't need. I don't need Triple H coming anywhere near another title shot. I don't need Triple H in the darn ring. He got laid out flat against Undertaker a couple years ago. Why do I have to deal with this now? Dude, just wear your suit and call it a day. I don't need this anymore. This is the problem with this WrestleMania alone, and it's struggling. You put out a network that pretty much gives everyone opportunity to see the pay-per-views for free, and you putting out there your main event as Randy Orton Bautista, and you're struggling. So you figure it's like, okay, let's increase it by putting in Daniel Bryan if he beats Triple H. So it's like, okay, that kind of increases it just a little. But if Triple H wins, it's like, okay, so you're faced with Evolution in the ring. Why? The only thing is missing is Ric Flair, so you could have a fatal four-way. So I'm like, dude, you completely mess this whole thing up even more just by putting your name out there, saying that even if you do win, it just ruins everything. I think this is going to be the worst WrestleMania out there for this modern era. I'm sorry.
Now, when it comes to the whole WrestleMania main event, actually, obviously, we're not getting what we want. We all want it, or at least the majority of us wanted Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk. We wanted CM Punk versus John Cena. We wanted Daniel Bryan versus John Cena. We wanted pretty much any combination that involved Daniel Bryan or CM Punk that didn't involve Dave Bautista and Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
Those two nowhere near the title picture of what everybody wanted for Mania 30. However, with that said, obviously we have to play the hand that was dealt to us. So the fact that Daniel Bryan has the opportunity to go in, I'm happy about. I won't be fully happy until I know he is actually in the match, though, because this is WWE. They could easily say at the day of, nope, that's not going to happen. We're having an all-evolution triple threat main event because we already have your money, so why do we care?
Right.
Kind of a situation. So obviously, until I'm sitting in the Superdome, because I will be in the Superdome like I am every year for it, and watching the event, I will not officially be happy until I know Daniel Bryan is actually in the match. However, one very interesting thing did come to mind about a week ago when I started thinking about it. If Daniel Bryan does beat Triple H and moves on to the main event and beats Batista, beats Orton, at WrestleMania 30, the biggest WrestleMania in the past 10 years, according to WWE, and obviously the biggest WrestleMania of all time because every new WrestleMania is the biggest WrestleMania of all time, according to them. Daniel Bryan would have effectively defeated Evolution, every active member of Evolution in one night. That to me is pretty much saying from 10 years ago, Evolution was wrong. That they got it wrong. That the people who were on top, but the people who they called the future were not exactly the future. And as a storyline, it's pretty much saying, nope, Daniel Bryan is better than Evolution. He defeated all of them. So that's what I'm hoping it happens. I am hoping Daniel Bryan beats Triple H. I am hoping Daniel Bryan gets added into the triple threat. And I'm hoping Daniel Bryan finally gets his moment and wins the title. Because that, to me, even if it's subtle, will say that, nope, we were wrong. Evolution was not the way that it was supposed to go. That this is the way it's supposed to go with Daniel Bryan. Now, how long is he going to hold the title after that? That's a different story. How is he going to be booked with the title? All of that will
bigger guys and get squashed. And
all of that we'll worry about.
Rey Mysterio effect.
Oh, Rey Mysterio was the worst.
Code 619.
It was so sad. But you did bring up a very interesting point about the buy rates, more or less.
Yes.
And I'm putting that in big quotes now.
Yeah.
Because with the WWE Network, how do you exactly have a buy rate anymore?
Well,
that isn't going to be diminished.
Well, here's the thing. Like nowadays, with a lot of television shows online now, pretty much there is a system. There is people who are monitoring them. So, and I mean, mind you, a lot of people were viewing NXT Arrival. So, So pretty much someone is accounting for all this information. I just think now, this is going to be interesting. Beginning in April, I think things are going to be very interesting with the buy rates for WWE. And I just think that a lot of people are not going to be viewing this. If the way things are right now, I think what the WWE fans, there's the wrestling fans, the WWE fans, and then the average fans. Those three people that you are trying to capture to watch your WrestleMania. And unfortunately, the WrestleMania, or let's say the wrestling fans, they're not really into this main event. And those are the ones that are kind of like, I'm one of those guys. I'm like, I want a wrestling match. I want the back in the days where it was a proper road to WrestleMania, where you got the feuds were building up through the weeks and then leading up to something where it will climax there. But do you have the WWE fans who are just going there to be going there? Go to Access, enjoying the WrestleMania, and who cares who's wrestling and all this. At least I get to see my stars. And then you got the people who are pretty much, we'll watch when we feel like it. And those are the ones that kind of like, oh, Randy Orton's hot. Maybe I'll watch that. Or it's like, ooh, I got to see Nikki Bell, Nikki and Brie, and all that stuff.
I would love to find out how many pay-per-views Nikki and Brie actually sell.
Pretty none.
Yeah.
Unless it's a Total Divas pay-per-view, which would be interesting.
I would love to hear somebody actually say, I am buying this pay-per-view for Nikki and Brie, because that is a poor life decision. I'm sorry, I like them, but that's just a bad decision.
Well, actually, that would be, if you think about it, give them opportunity. Make a pay-per-view for Divas only, because that's the one thing I think is missing, because I really think the Divas, if they're just going to get one match or maybe two at the most at this WrestleMania, it's sad, because I just feel like, they're waste. I mean, everyone's treating them like garbage. I view it as just like it's wasted talent, because there are some really good wrestling divas in there, and they're just not getting the opportunity where they deserve, and also a proper storyline that makes sense that they deserve.
I think you and I talked about it, actually, and we felt that the best option for the Divas, with AJ holding it for so long, everybody fought her at some point. Everyone was number one contender. She's beaten everybody.
Almost.
They should just do a scramble match.
Yeah.
They haven't done a scramble match in years, and doing a WWE Divas scramble match would just be amazing. You could have all of them in the ring, which would put all of the Divas on your card. It'd be 20 minutes that you don't have to worry about on a 4-hour show.
Right.
You're done. That's it. AJ still wins at the end, because that's how it happens. She just needs to lose that title already.
In the WWE universe, that's how it always happens.
Yes. But speaking of the buy rates with WWE, of course, they're going down like they always do. The Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber buy rates came back in. And this year's Royal Rumble had 445,000 buys compared to the 512 from last year. So that's a pretty significant drop. Elimination Chamber this year had 203,000 compared to the 213,000 from last year. So, of course, the buy rate's still steadily going down and the network being pushed heavily up, it's going to be interesting to see if WWE even decides to care or share the buy rates anymore. Because I think what they should be looking at more is, well, this is how many subscribers we have.
Right.
Kind of a situation, because
they already got to $10.
Yeah, who cares?
So as long as they get to $10, they're good. And mind you, I don't know what kind of split they get between the cable companies and them when they do pay-per-views, but at least they get 100% of it. So it's like, hey, we got the $10, and then mind you, like I said, the prices will increase. So likelihood, by the time that this introductory specials is over, then pretty much you're like, all right, are you willing to pay $25-$30 a month to enjoy all these pay-per-views? But here's the thing: do you want to see all these pay-per-views? Because based off of this, let's put it this way: the Royal Rumble is one of the big four. So mind you, of course, it's going to be high, but again, you're catering to a crowd that is kind of like, okay, you don't have 30 wrestlers. We get a new guy, a guy from NXT. We get a whole bunch of has-beens. We get a guy who was just supposed to be commentary but gets knocked out. I mean, we get a gimmick match, and which is sad. It's not what Royal Rumble used to be. It used to be something really meaningful, and especially in this last 10 years or so, it's ultraly meaningful because, hey, the winner goes to WrestleMania. Now you got to look at the fact that, okay, what about your secondary pay-per-views? The Elimination Chamber, I still think, is the most, now that the titles are unified, I felt it was utterly pointless. I just don't see it. It's just like, what was the whole point of this? If it was the number one contender match, I can understand. But you made it a title match where, in the end, Randy Orton somehow gets it back. And just pretty much, again, it's part of this whole fix-up thing, to try to get, Daniel Bryan into the main event of WrestleMania. I just felt like this is bogus. And I think this is one of the pay-per-views that they need to get rid of. I just don't see the point of having the Elimination Chamber, be such a relevant type of thing. And also the fact you had your main event wasn't the Elimination Chamber match. It was the Wise versus the Shield. You had your WrestleMania match in the wrong pay-per-view. And that was supposed to be your selling point, which I don't know which one. And that's the other thing. You're confusing the selling point. You're selling your main event when you had Cena, you had Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton and Sheamus and Christian all vying for the title. But then again, your main interesting match was the Wyatt and Shield. So again, it confuses the buyer of what I'm trying to watch. So in the end, what am I watching here? Should I really be watching this? No. Eliminate the Elimination Chamber. Go from Royal Rumble to Mania, and again, build up to the road to WrestleMania. We don't need the Elimination Chamber anymore.
No, I felt that the Elimination Chamber should have just stayed at Survivor Series. They already hate the traditional Survivor Series match because they added in like maybe the week of the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
So just do an Elimination Chamber. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, you're trying to survive.
Survive the chamber. Just move the chamber to Survivor Series. That's even where it debuted. Mm-hmm. It's stupid to give it its own pay-per-view.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. So yeah, they absolutely do need to eliminate it. But of course, as a pay-per-view, does it even technically exist anymore now that the network is up? Yeah. Which actually leads to our question of the week. Now that the network is up, what do you see happening to the pay-per-views? Mm-hmm. I mean, is the WWE going to push them harder? Is it just another show because it's on the network? Like, what do you think is going to happen to that model? Mm-hmm. Vince McMahon more or less created the pay-per-view model with how successful his WrestleManias were. And now it looks like he's trying to kill it.
Because it's watered down. Yeah. Everything. If you look at it, not just WWE. You look at UFC. I mean, it's almost every month they have a major pay-per-view event, but really it's like it's not with the big guys that everyone wants to see. It's always that one main thing everyone should watch, and then it's everything else. So I really think the pay-per-view model has watered down so much. It's kind of like, do I really want to spend $50 to $60 to $70 to watch something to where I just want to see one match? No.
Yeah. Well, you can respond to us, question of the week. You can find us on Facebook, and you can like us on Facebook, ITSC Wrestling. And we can go ahead and figure out what everyone's thinking about all that.
Right.
But a couple of weeks ago, we actually winded up doing the Decades of WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Our road to WrestleMania.
We hit a little speed bump recently. We're trying to get back on it. So we did 1 through 10, and some of the most influential matches and some of the most technically sound matches actually is what we were really concentrating on. Because you already know what all the influential matches are. That doesn't mean they were good. So we're going to continue on. So 11 through 20 is what we're looking at, the next decade of WrestleMania, which I guess would include what they call the new generation now, what they call the Attitude Era, I believe the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression era as well. So Brian Lyles, 11 through 20, what matches stick out, technically sound?
To this day, I feel like even though it was, the ending I was kind of upset with, but I'll give it all credit in the world. Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, World WWF Heavyweight Championship, where it had to go to overtime in their Iron Man match. And you talk about those two hating each other. If you ever seen the videos and of between those two, how everyone gets screwed and all that stuff, all that bit. But anyway, that match alone really sparked their feud to another level. And I'm a big Bret Hart fan, and I really wanted him to win. And when the time ran out, the regulation time, I felt like, oh, okay, it's over. We'll see this on Raw or whatever, rematch or whatever. No, you see Gorilla Monsoon coming back. It's like, nope, because he was the quote unquote president at the time, and saying that, nope, we're going to overtime. I'm like, what? And I see Bret's face. It was like gold. Yeah, it's just like, what are you talking about? And so he went back and he's like, all right, fine, I'll give it another 5. So it goes back in, and they continue on for another good 10 minutes or so until Shawn super kicks them and rolls them up. And I have a friend, his name is Hannick, and he's a big Shawn Michaels fan. He said, oh, it's the boyhood dream, it came true, and all that stuff. So I give credit for a really good sounding match, and I think that really, that's something that I think is missing. You needed 2 big guys that you really wanted to see go at it, and that was it. And I think that for that Attitude Era, that's what really started for him.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Attitude Era, and quite possibly what was the beginning of one of the biggest moments, actually, and was a really technically sound match, was, again, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. The match where both of them winded up flipping, both good guy and bad guy personas, more or less helped launch Austin, along with his Austin 316 promo, him refusing to tap out. And just the whole imagery behind it is just so infamous. And the match itself, people don't talk about the match that much. I mean, they talk about the match happened, and they talk about, how Austin wouldn't tap, but just the match itself was very technically sound. And again, Bret Hart doing what Bret Hart does best, making other people look great. So that would be one of my votes as well.
Okay. Another one, another Austin match. Here's the funny thing. It's not the first one, Austin and Rock at 15. It was the third one, Austin and Rock at 19. I felt that was so, because The Rock has never beaten Austin at all. And seeing how that those two going, it was, I wouldn't say the twilight. I know it was kind of like the twilight of Austin's career because of the neck injury was really getting to him now. And The Rock his movie status was really increasing. But seeing those two, and mind you, it wasn't for a title, which was fine. But just to see those two go at it one more time, and having The Rock, rock bottom Austin that one time was great. And then the really cool moment was when Austin was down and trying to get his mind right, Rock whispering into his ear and pretty much, saying thank you and all that stuff. I felt it was a good moment. And that right there was a WrestleMania moment, not, for The Rock. And you can even go before that one, 18 at Toronto, Rock versus Hulk Hogan. And just pretty much those two just looking at each other.
I felt their stare down was bigger than the match.
True.
I didn't feel the match was technically sound.
No.
But if we want to talk technically sound, going back to 19, actually, which is one that I think is kind of not looked at as often, is Shawn Michaels versus Jericho. That match was all kinds of insane. And it seems like it keeps getting lost in the shuffle of just big and great matches of WrestleMania. And Shawn Michaels, obviously, Mr. WrestleMania, he earned that name for a reason. Truly does deserve the name, the showstopper, and all of that along with it. And that match with Jericho solidified it for me, exactly how good he is. Another match that a lot of people don't really, they talk about, but they also don't want to talk about, is the main event at 20, the triple threat of Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Chris Benoit. That match alone, for the storytelling that was involved in it that led up to the match, the story that was told in the match, and what the end of that match should have accomplished if it wasn't for outside personal things happening with Chris Benoit. It should have been the turning point. And you could tell that was the turning point that the WWE wanted and that they were hoping for. So for me, that match is still very, very important, and hopefully we can get a redo of that if Daniel Bryan winds up winning. Hopefully that'll be them trying to shift it again.
But
hopefully.
But then again, you also have to remember after that match, you had Chris Benoit with the world title, you have Eddie Guerrero with the WWE title, and it was like both celebrate. I mean, these two guys, they were the smallest guys in the locker room, so to speak, and they have accomplished something bigger than you would ever imagine. They did okay in WCW, but you want to play with the big dogs, and they played, and they did everything they could, and both of them were on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
So, and think about it, sadly both of them are gone, and who knows what would have happened, given another few more years. Those two right now could have been facing each other for the belts that they were holding at the time. Because that's something I would have loved to see.
And we never know.
And we'll never know. And now we're getting that again. We want to see Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. Exact same thing.
So second question of the week, WrestleManias 11 through 20. What were the most technically sound? What were the most important matches of that decade? And the original question, network versus pay-per-view. What do you think is going to happen to the pay-per-view model now that we're running along with
it's
all
going
of
to
this?
go away.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And we're pretty much out of time again.
It's all about time.
It's always about time. Like, we always just kind of talk and then nothing.
Right.
It really does kind of feel like we do say nothing sometimes. But
You say nothing. I say
I
a lot.
never say anything. And
Yeah.
I don't even know why I'm here. I'm surprised they haven't.
You're here to
kicked me
push
off.
that button.
I am here to push that
You're
button.
here to let people know what they're watching.
Watching Inside
And
Squared Circle.
you pretty much pass it along to either me or X or who else is on this panel, and let us do our spiel for the next 27:30 and call it a day.
You know what else I do?
What?
I also say goodbye to everybody.
Oh,
We'll see
bye.
you guys next week.
Bootista.